The elevator doors slid shut with a heavy metallic thud, sealing James inside with the last person he'd ever expect to be in such close quarters with Vivian Hale, CEO of Hale Corp, a woman whose very name could make seasoned executives sweat. She was the kind of leader who didn't need to raise her voice to command a room. Her presence alone was enough to silence it. And now here she was, standing 3 feet away from him. Her perfume sharp and clean. The faint click of her phone screen breaking the quiet. James adjusted the janitor's cart he'd awkwardly wheeled inside. Careful not to bump her. He had no intention of using this elevator today. The service lift was his usual route, but the main one was full, and he'd thought it would save him a trip. Big mistake. Vivian stood with perfect posture, in a tailored navy dress, hair in a flawless twist, heels planted as if the floor belonged to her alone. She didn't look at him once, though James felt her awareness of him, the kind of quick assessment people like her gave to people like him. Work boots, faded shirt, calloused hands. The first 30 seconds were silent, the kind of silence that's louder than noise, heavy with unspoken thoughts. James tried to shift his weight, but the cart's squeaky wheel gave him away. Vivian's eyes flicked up briefly, then returned to her phone. Then the elevator gave a sudden shudder, not the usual hum-on stop, but a deep, bone-felt jolt that made the overhead lights flicker once, twice, before cutting out completely. Vivian inhaled sharply. What the asterisk? The emergency light blinked on, casting the small cabin in an eerie reddish glow. The floor indicator froze between 14 and 15. James moved to the panel, pressing the emergency call button. He held it for a second, released, tried again. No voice, no crackle, nothing. We're stuck. Vivian asked, her voice clipped but steady. Looks like it, James said evenly. Might be a power issue, they'll fix it soon. Vivian exhaled slowly, but her jaw was tight. Perfect. I have a board call in 20 minutes, and now I'm in a box. With no offense. You. James almost smiled, but didn't. He'd been here long enough to know Vivian Hale's type. Not unkind, maybe, but blind to the idea that the janitor mopping her floors had a life, or thoughts, or a daughter he was raising alone. They stood in a silence that was different now, warmer, thicker. 10 minutes passed. The temperature crept upward. James took off his cap, ran a hand over his short-cropped hair, and leaned back against the wall. That's when he heard it. It was faint at first, almost easy to dismiss. A scrape, high and soft, like metal brushing metal. He frowned, tilting his head toward the ceiling. Then came a dull thud, not from inside the elevator, from above. Vivian noticed his shift in posture. What is it? James lifted a finger to his lips. He listened harder. Another scrape, then the sound of something metallic sliding. Slow, deliberate movements, not the quick, purposeful ones of building maintenance. Could just be repairs, Vivian whispered, though her tone betrayed doubt. James shook his head. Maintenance doesn't open hatches without saying something, and they don't move like that. Her brow furrowed. What are you saying? Before he could answer, the hatch above them creaked open an inch. A sliver of shadow shifted, then a gloved hand slid inside, fingers curling around the frame. Vivian took a step back, eyes widening. Oh my God. James's instincts flared. He stepped forward, putting himself directly between her and the hatch. Get behind me. The hand withdrew. A man's voice came from above, low and sharp. Stay quiet, and nobody gets hurt. James's pulse hammered in his ears. Whoever this was, they weren't here by accident. He looked over his shoulder at Vivian, her face pale, but her spine straight. Leaning close, he murmured, they're here for you. Asterisk, her lips parted, shock flashing in her eyes, but she didn't deny it. That was all the confirmation he needed. Asterisk, something dropped through the hatch, a small black cylinder. It hit the floor with a metallic clink and rolled toward the center. Asterisk, James's eyes widened. Move. Asterisk, he grabbed Vivian's arm and shoved her toward the farthest corner, just as the device hissed violently, releasing a thick stream of white smoke. It rose fast, curling around their legs, then chest, then face. Asterisk, the smell was chemical, biting at the back of his throat. James coughed, pulling his shirt up over his nose. Vivian's breath came fast and shallow beside him. Visibility dropped to nothing. Asterisk, he couldn't see the hatch anymore, but he could hear movement, someone descending, boots hitting the elevator roof. Then, a sharp clang as metal met metal. Asterisk, James crouched, pulling Vivian down with him to where the air was a fraction cleaner. His voice was low but urgent. Don't panic. Keep breathing slow. Asterisk, her hand clutched his forearm, nails digging in. What do they want? You, he said simply. She didn't argue. Didn't even try to pretend otherwise. Asterisk, the clang above grew louder, closer, until it was right over their heads. James's mind raced. No weapons, no backup, and no guarantee anyone in the building even knew they were in trouble. Asterisk, but he did know one thing. He wasn't letting them take her. Not while he was still breathing. The clang of boots on metal rang above their heads, each step deliberate and slow. James could feel the vibration through the elevator's frame. The smoke was still thick, swirling in the dim emergency light, stinging his eyes and throat. His shirt collar was pulled up over his mouth, but it barely helped. Vivian crouched beside him, gripping his arm as though letting go might mean falling into something worse than the floor. Asterisk, the sound of the hatch opening fully sliced through the haze. A man dropped down, not leaping recklessly, but lowering himself with control, landing with a muted thud that told James this wasn't his first time doing something like this. The intruder wore dark clothes, gloves, and a mask that covered most of his face. His eyes, cold and sharp, scanned the elevator. Asterisk, he spotted them immediately. Vivian Hale, he said, his voice calm, as though greeting her at a dinner party. You're coming with me. Asterisk, Vivian's fingers dug into James's arm, but James stepped forward, planting himself between her and the man. She's not going anywhere. Asterisk, the intruder tilted his head slightly, as if mildly amused. You think you can stop me? Asterisk, James didn't answer. He simply shifted his stance, weight balanced, knees bent. He wasn't trained for this kind of confrontation. But years of defending himself in rough neighborhoods and protecting his little girl from the wrong kind of attention had taught him one thing. Hesitation got you hurt. Asterisk, the man moved first, lunging toward Vivian. James blocked him with his shoulder, shoving him hard into the elevator wall. The impact made the cart rattle against the opposite side. Asterisk, the intruder recovered quickly, swinging a gloved fist. James ducked, feeling the air slice past his ear. He countered by grabbing the man's wrist and twisting hard. The intruder grunted, but didn't drop the small taser now visible in his hand. Asterisk, don't make this worse. The man growled, yanking his arm free. Asterisk, you already made it worse. James shot back, stepping closer. Asterisk, another rush. The man feinted left, then went right, slipping past James just enough to grab Vivian by the wrist. She let out a sharp cry, struggling against his grip. Asterisk, James reacted without thinking, hooking his foot around the intruder's ankle and yanking backward. The man stumbled, loosening his hold just enough for James to pull Vivian free. Asterisk, smoke swirled thick around them now, making every movement slower. James's lungs burned. He could hear voices from above, another person shouting something muffled. There was more than one of them. Asterisk, the intruder regrouped, backing toward the hatch. You can't protect her forever, he said, climbing toward the opening. Asterisk James grabbed the janitor's mop handle from his cart and swung it upward like a spear. It caught the man in the ribs, making him grunt in pain and lose his grip. He slipped, landing hard on the elevator floor. James didn't waste the chance. He drove the mop handle against the man's shoulder and pinned him down. Asterisk Vivian. The emergency phone, James barked. Asterisk she scrambled to the panel, coughing, pressing the call button over and over. Finally, a crackling voice answered, faint through the static. Security. What's asterisk elevator between 14 and 15? James shouted. We have an intruder. Armed. Send help. Now. Asterisk the intruder shifted violently, trying to roll free. James jammed the mop handle down again, but the man kicked out, catching James in the thigh. Pain flared, but James held his ground. Asterisk from above, another shadow appeared at the hatch. Grab her, the voice commanded. Asterisk Vivian's eyes went wide as a second pair of hands reached down. James lunged, grabbing her arm and yanking her back. The intruder beneath him used the distraction to wrench free, shoving James hard into the wall. Asterisk, before the second man could pull Vivian up. James launched himself forward, wrapping both arms around her waist and dragging her down with him. They tumbled against the cart, sending cleaning supplies clattering to the floor. Asterisk the first intruder scrambled to his feet. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Asterisk James grabbed the heavy metal spray bottle from the floor and hurled it upward. It caught the second man in the face, making him recoil and lose his grip on the hatch. Asterisk Vivian was coughing hard now, her voice hoarse. We can't stay in here much longer. Asterisk James's mind raced. Smoke. 2 attackers. No way. Out through the hatch. The only hope was forcing the elevator doors open, even between floors.